Part 1. The laughter started before I even reached the table. It rolled across the room like a wave, sharp and familiar, hitting me square in the chest. I stood there for a second, holding the small wrapped box in my hands, already knowing what was coming next. My mother's voice rose above the rest, light and playful to everyone else, but cutting to me like glass. "Here comes the one who serves," she said, smiling as if it were a harmless joke. The room chuckled on cue. They always did. I forced a smile, the same one I had practiced for years. The kind that hides more than it reveals. My father didn't even look up at first. He was too busy pouring drinks for guests, playing the perfect host. When he finally noticed me, he smirked. "Did you bring the plates, or just yourself this time?" he asked. More laughter. Always more laughter. That's who I had been in this house for as long as I could remember. Not the son they were proud of, not the one they introduced with admiration. No, I was the one who helped in the kitchen, who cleaned up after parties, who stayed quiet when others spoke. The one who served. The nickname had started as a joke when I was a teenager, but over time, it had settled into something heavier. Something real. I walked toward the table anyway. Tonight was their anniversary dinner, a celebration filled with relatives, friends, and people who had watched me grow up into this version of myself. Or at least, the version they believed I was. I placed the box carefully in front of my mother. It wasn't large, it wasn't expensive looking, but it carried more weight than anything I had ever given them before. "Oh, look," my mother said, raising her eyebrows. "He brought a gift." Her tone made it sound like a rare event, something almost unbelievable. "You didn't have to do that," she added, though her expression suggested she didn't expect much from it anyway. "I wanted to," I replied quietly. My father leaned back in his chair, swirling his drink. "Let's see what the one who serves thinks is worth giving," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. There it was again, that phrase, that identity they had built for me, brick by brick, joke by joke. I felt something shift inside me, something that had been building for years, finally reaching the surface. But I kept my voice steady. "Go ahead," I said. My mother began unwrapping the gift, slowly, deliberately, as if stretching out the moment for entertainment. The room grew quieter, curiosity replacing laughter. Inside the box was a simple notebook. Nothing fancy, just a plain, dark cover. She frowned slightly. "A notebook?" she asked, confused. "Open it," I said. She glanced at my father, then back at me, before flipping the cover open. The first page held a single line. Just one sentence, written clearly, carefully, in my handwriting. At first, she didn't react. Her eyes moved across the words once, then again. The smile on her face faded, replaced by something else. Something uncertain. "What is it?" my father asked, leaning forward. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned the notebook toward him. He read the line, and for the first time that evening, he didn't laugh. He didn't smirk. He just stared. The room shifted. The energy changed in a way that was almost physical. Conversations stopped. People watched, waiting for the punchline that never came. "What is this supposed to mean?" my father finally said, his voice lower now. I took a slow breath. My hands were no longer shaking. "It means," I said, "that tonight is the last time you get to call me that." Silence. My mother closed the notebook, her fingers tightening around it. "You're being dramatic," she said, but there was no confidence in her voice anymore. "Am I?" I asked. "Because everything written in there is real." Her eyes flicked back to the notebook, as if it had suddenly become something dangerous. Something she didn't want to open again. My father scoffed, trying to recover the atmosphere. "It's just a notebook," he said. "Don't tell me you're upset over a joke." "A joke," I repeated, feeling that shift inside me grow stronger. "You've called me that for years. And you've always laughed along," he shot back. "Yes," I said, "because I didn't think I had a choice." That landed harder than I expected. A few people at the table shifted uncomfortably. My aunt looked down at her plate. Someone cleared their throat. My mother forced a smile again, though it didn't reach her eyes. "All right, enough of this," she said. "Let's not ruin the evening." But it was already ruined. Or maybe, for the first time, it was honest. I stepped back slightly, giving them space. "You should read the rest," I said. "Not now, but you will." My father frowned. "Why would we?" "Because that first line," I said, meeting his gaze, "is just the beginning." And for the first time in my life, they didn't have a quick reply. No joke, no laughter, just silence, heavy and unfamiliar, hanging over the table like something that couldn't be ignored anymore. Part 2. No one touched their food after that. The plates sat untouched, the carefully prepared dinner losing its warmth as the silence stretched longer than anyone was comfortable with. My mother kept the notebook in her hands, as if putting it down might make everything inside it spill out into the room. My father tried once or twice to restart the conversation, but his voice lacked the ease it once had. The laughter never returned. I stood there for a moment, watching them, feeling something unfamiliar settle inside me. It wasn't anger. Not anymore. It was clarity. "You can open it," I said finally. My mother hesitated. "Not here," she whispered. "Why not?" I asked. "You've never had a problem saying things about me in front of everyone." That hit its mark. A few guests shifted in their seats again. My father's jaw tightened. "That's enough," he said. "You've made your point." "No," I replied calmly. "I haven't. Not yet." I reached forward and gently pushed the notebook back toward her. "Read the next page." Her fingers trembled slightly as she opened it again. This time, she turned past the first line. Her eyes moved quickly, scanning what I had written. Then slower. Then stopping completely. Her breathing changed. "What does it say?" someone asked softly from the table. She didn't answer. She couldn't. My father leaned over, impatience creeping back into his expression. "Give it here," he said, taking the notebook from her hands. He flipped to the page she had been reading. And then he froze. The shift in his face was undeniable. The confidence, the dismissiveness, it drained away, replaced by something far more fragile. Something closer to recognition. "You kept track of all this?" he muttered. "Yes," I said. "Every comment, every joke, every time they introduced me not as their son, but as the one who helps around. The one who serves. Every dinner, every gathering, every passing remark that slowly shaped how others saw me, and how I saw myself." "You wrote dates," he added, almost to himself. "I wanted to be sure," I replied. "In case one day you said it never happened." My mother looked at me now, really looked at me, as if seeing someone she didn't quite recognize. "Why didn't you say anything?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I let out a quiet breath. "I did, just not in a way you wanted to hear." Memories flickered behind my eyes. The times I tried to speak, only to be brushed off. The moments I tried to push back, only to be told I was too sensitive. Too serious. That it was just a joke. It never felt like a joke to me, I added. The room was still. No one interrupted now. My father closed the notebook slowly, as if it had become heavier with every word he read. "So what is this?" he asked. "Some kind of accusation?" "It's the truth," I said. "And it's also a goodbye." That word landed harder than anything else. "A goodbye," my mother repeated. "Yes. You're leaving?" she asked, panic slipping into her voice. "I already have," I said gently. "Mentally, a long time ago. Tonight is just the first time I've said it out loud." My father shook his head. "You're overreacting." "Am I?" I asked again. "Or are you just hearing me for the first time?" He didn't answer. I stepped back, creating distance between us that felt both new and long overdue. "I'm not the one who serves," I said. "I never was. I just became that person because it was easier than fighting you." My mother's eyes filled with tears now, but I didn't feel the guilt I used to. "We didn't mean to hurt you," she said. "I know," I replied. "But you did anyway." That was the part they never understood. Intent didn't erase impact. I glanced around the table one last time. Faces that had watched me grow up, that had laughed along, that had accepted the version of me my parents presented. "I'm done being that version," I said. My father looked down at the notebook again, then back at me. "And what happens now?" "Now," I said, "you decide whether you ever want to know who I actually am." No one spoke after that. I turned toward the door, each step feeling lighter than the last. Behind me, the silence remained, thick and undeniable. The laughter that once defined every gathering in that house was gone, replaced by something far more honest. Just before I reached the door, my mother's voice stopped me. "What was the first line?" she asked quietly. I paused, my hand on the handle. Then I answered, without turning around. "I was never the one who serves, I was the one you never tried to see." And this time, there was no laughter to follow.